we got a good one for you today. Yes, that is right. Prepared to have your mind blown. Now, this is going to make a lot of people mad today, so I suggest you stick around to the end if you really like the juicy stuff. But we're going to challenge a lot of people's belief systems today. Not just challenge it, we're going to attempt to override it and put some common sense in the head. We are going to attempt to get people to actually think in the terms of definitions and what they actually mean, because, well, we need definitions to describe and to set in stone what things actually mean in life. Now, I question most people's ability in doing this, but, however, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt today, and we're going to hope that they can pull it out of their ass. We got to have fun sometimes, right? Anyhow, today we're going to touch first on my Yngwie Malmsteen Strat build that we're about to do, but that's going to kind of segue into something that's going to be, well, quite disturbing to a lot of guitar connoisseurs who know everything there is to know about guitars because the guitar gods have bestowed it upon them while they were drinking their wine and their guitars hung on their walls behind them. Yeah, it's going to challenge their belief systems mostly. To a lot of you, this is just going to make total sense. It's going to be common sense. You're going to get it. You're going to say, hey, you're right. That is the definition. That's what it means. And we really can't challenge it any farther because, facts are facts. So we're going to deal in that. And another thing we're going to touch on is the 20% rule. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's not a legal term. If you look it up, a lot of people say it is bogus. But what it is a generalization that works in real life. It's a generalization on how much you have to change something in order to make it not infringe on another one's copyright, patent, trademark, what have you. So I want to go into it stating that this is not a legal term. It is a generalization. So when people say it's a myth, it's not a myth. It is a real thing that people do go by, and I have actually went by this, but it's a real thing that people go by to generalize, to put in a perspective how much. You know what? Watch a video. Let's get into it right now. Guys, grab your favorite beverage. This is going to be a good one, and hopefully you come out of this in the end with new eyes. Some of the words I use in this video, I get going, and this is a one-cut, done thing, so please excuse if I stumbled over any words or anything, but stick around, because this is going to be good, guys. You're going to love this one. Remember to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Pass this along to all of your guitar snob friends who know everything about guitars. Thanks, guys. Bye. See, I come from a place called Sin City. That's why I lean like the ground. Sold my soul to the devil. For $1.95. Dirty deeds and it cheap. Welcome to Fulton Street Beats. Very interesting episode today. I hope you stick around to the end. You're not going to want to miss this. Stuff that has been debated for a long time about counterfeit guitars and what does that actually mean. Stick around. We're going to get to that. But first, we're going to discuss the new build we're doing for the channel. So a while back, I got an itch to get myself an Yngwie Malmsteen Strat. Why? I don't know. It's cool. It's got, scalp fretboard, jumbo frets. It looks cool and it sounds great. And they're really expensive. So that was definitely out of the question. So immediately, being a budget channel, what do? I head over to my favorite source and I go to AliExpress. That's right. If you don't like AliExpress and you don't like guitars that are inexpensive, this is probably not the channel for you. But if you do, stick around, because you're really going to enjoy this episode and maybe get a little vindication by the time the episode is over on your guitar you bought from China. Now, The Yngwie build. Well, don't get me wrong, Fender makes a fantastic guitar. We can all agree on that. Guitar lovers alike can all agree Fender makes a fantastic guitar. Now, are they fantastic enough for the price? Well, yes and no. Fender puts a lot of quality in their builds. I think even more so than Gibson. That's a personal opinion. I do have reasons why that we can get into on another episode, but the select woods that they use and they don't hide, like their neck for their wood for their neck and the maple that they use and how they cut it and the stuff that they show off, that stuff really stands out to me. So yeah, Fender makes a fantastic guitar, but are they worth the prices that they ask? So let's take the Yngwie Strat. They have an Yngwie Malmsteen Strat, and then they have the custom shop Yngwie Strat. Well, it's over double the price for the custom shop ones. Why? Is there that much upgrade? There's really not. There's really, really not. So we have to start looking at the prices across the board. So looking at these and wanting one really bad, my first source that I looked to was AliExpress, and how much can I buy a fake for? And I'm going to use the term fake because it is a legit term. And we're going to cover this a little bit later. It's a fake Fender. It's not real, but it's got the basic shape, although it is altered and does not exactly, keyword, exactly, look like a Fender or play like a Fender. So I look, and they're right around $175, really inexpensive, right? Sometimes you can get them with free shipping. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're paying $250, $300 for one to get one over here. And sometimes it's a crapshoot knowing which one you're getting or depending on which vendor or shop that it's coming from over there. So these are things you have to take into consideration when ordering any fake guitar. Now, I decided to build my own because, well, that's what we do here. We like to get our hands dirty and get in and make things better than they were before or just create from scratch. So what we're going to do today is talk about the Yngwie Malmsteen build that I'm going to be doing and go over some parts that I'm going to be using with it. And can I build a guitar using available parts from different vendors that will compete, if not beat? Now, I'm not saying it will, but can we at least compete with a original Fender? Regardless of the name on the headstock, can we build a guitar? I know to most people, it's not rocket science, right? So, I mean, of course we can, but can I do it on a $500 budget? Now, that's a different story, right? Because, well, sometimes things are worth the sum of their parts and sometimes they're not. So let's see what we can do here. So I started out and ordered a guitar body, Strat body, an American cut body that's already painted in like a butterscotch cream. Not drilled out. It is routed, but it's not drilled out for anything. No pick guards, no nothing. And I got that from Guitar Fetish. And I believe they call it their GXP. Beautiful looking body. That should be on its way soon. And that's where I wanted to start, with a really quality body. And they say that these things compare to bodies that are $400 to $600. I paid $89. So we'll see. And this whole thing is a process of seeing and learning along the way what works and what doesn't. And hopefully everything comes together beautifully. But something tells me that it's not going to, because it never works out that way. Almost never. So we started with that. And then I needed components to finish this. Now, after looking at Fender American bridges and realizing that, well, I'm not paying $130 for a Fender American bridge. Just not doing it. Why? Because they don't have a brass block on them, for one. If I'm going to pay that kind of money, I want a brass block. So what I did is I found one that is an American style, American spacing, vintage style bridge. It looks just like a Fender, but it doesn't say Fender on it, with a brass block. Through, again, Guitar Fetish. I would love to have sourced a lot of things from Guitar Fetish because I've never used them before, and I'd love to see the quality of their other components. But that's the only two things I got from them, was the bridge and the body. They had what I needed, and I went with them. And when they get here, we'll unbox and we'll go over these components as they come in. So then we had to move on to, well, an output jack. Output jack I got right from Amazon, authentic Fender. We got authentic Fender knobs coming for it, things like that. We are doing Dunlop flush mount strap locks. That's right, we're going to drill out the body and put the Yngwie Malmsteen style Dunlops in the body. So another cool feature that we're going to do, because every Yngwie Malmsteen Strat should have a brass nut. So another Fender part, we're using a authentic brass nut from Fender. Yes, it will probably require some modification and some delicate touches on it to make it right, but we're going to do it. But what about the neck? Well, the neck I sourced overseas. Yes, it wouldn't be a proper build if we didn't source something from overseas on a budget channel, right? So, yes, I contacted a vendor overseas. This vendor, remarkably, was on Amazon. And I found the neck that I wanted, but I wanted it, of course, a specific way because I want it to look like a Yngwie Malmsteen Stratocaster. So I requested the scalp frets. Fretboard, I should say. We don't scalp frets. Scalp fretboard. I requested jumbo frets. I requested the correct shape. Yes, the correct shape, or at least as close as they could get without infringing with the 20% rule to a Fender neck. So, could they do that? Well, yes, they could. And then I requested, of course, a Fender logo and an Yngwie Malmsteen logo on the headstock. Now, will these match exactly the original Fender? No, not gonna. And they can't. And we're gonna get to that. They can't. We're gonna shed some light on some subjects that nobody seems to touch on ever. And hopefully when we're done, maybe a light bulb will go off and you'll go, wow, totally makes sense. Now I get it. So anyhow, this build comes down to electronics now. Now, I would love to drop the $360, $370 for a loaded Yngwie pickguard with a proper pickups and wiring. I would love to do that. However, budget channel, it's not going to happen. So what I have to do is get as close as possible. And sometimes when we get as close as possible, or at least experiment, sometimes we're pleasantly surprised at the quality that we can pull out of our ass when we need to. And I hope that makes sense. So I found a company that's going to wire me up a pickup, some pickups and a pickguard, a loaded pickguard with vintage style wiring, correct pots. I requested them not be super, super hot. I don't want them super hot, but I want them hot enough where they will project the way I want them to. So I gave them the values that I wanted. So hopefully this happens. We'll have to see when they get here. I'll leave links to the descriptions for everything as these parts come in where you guys can get a hold of this stuff. I'm not going to leave links to things that I'm not going to back. You know what I mean? I want to make sure it's right. If it's junk, won't even leave you a link. There's just no point. I don't want the disappointment. So that's coming. We got a lot coming for this guitar. It's going to be a cool build. And it's going to be like a from scratch. Of course, I'm not in the shop. We're not cutting the wood or nothing because I want this a nice Strat body. We'll leave that to the people who build those Strat bodies and do it every day. The neck to the people who build necks every day. And hopefully it's decent quality. That's the name of the game, right? Now, the neck does not have the bullet truss rod adjustment. They can't do that. And there's reasons why, of course. So let's touch on this. Let's talk about, you ready? Counterfeit guitars. Everybody's favorite subject, counterfeit guitars. Do you know what a counterfeit guitar is? Do you know what it actually is? Do you know the legal definition of a counterfeit guitar? Because most people don't. Most people regurgitate it out of their mouth. It's counterfeit, it's counterfeit, it's counterfeit, not knowing what the word means. And did you know that, for instance, counterfeit and fake are two different things? They're not the same. One's illegal and one's totally legal. Yeah, that's right. And what makes a counterfeit guitar a counterfeit guitar? That is the question. Is just a guitar being a similar shape make it a counterfeit? No. No, my dear friend, it doesn't. How far do you have to go to make it a counterfeit? There's the question. Because actually there's a very precise answer, but also a gray area. You see, there's legalities in UCC law. There's things that they have to go by, but some of those laws are very loose. Some aren't even laws at all. Some are actually pseudo-law and almost policy. That's right. So as a consumer, you've been scared into selling a guitar that you thought was counterfeit, but maybe it's not. Now, I don't offer any legal advice on this channel, but I will bring you the facts, and I will bring you reality and legal definitions, because, well, that's what we should have is in a society is legal definitions. So first, let's look at the legal definition of counterfeit. What makes a counterfeit guitar? Yes, I got some cheat sheets over here. A legal definition is a made in exact copy. Now, once again, we're just going to take that sentence because sometimes that blows right over people's head. Made in an exact image. Exact. That means in order, this is the first qualifying part. There's two parts. It has to be exact. Now, what Chinese copy have you ever seen that was exact to an original, whatever it was imitating? I'll wait. None. That's right, none. Okay. Now, when you look up this stuff, we got to meet part 2 of the criteria now. Part 2 of the criteria is this: the intent to defraud. We'll let that sink in for a minute. So we need an exact, which means there's no differences. There's no visible differences to, by the definition of exact, no visible differences. And you need the intent to defraud. Now, this is where we want to run into the gray area. Do you need one of these things or two of these things? Well, you very well wouldn't intend to defraud unless it was a copy that you could pull that off with. So legally and common sense wise, you would think that you'd need both of those things to meet that criteria, correct? Because just the intent to defraud doesn't mean it's a counterfeit. But being a counterfeit and an exact replica, you can have that still. But once you add the intent to defraud, then you get in a lot of trouble. Not that you should have a counterfeit, because no, you can't. Then you meet the criteria of counterfeit. But the intent to defraud is the part that gets you in trouble. Okay. So, do any Chinese replicas meet the exact requirements? Answer is no. None that I've ever seen ever meet the exact requirements. No Rolex watches meet the exact requirements. None, all the fakes, they don't meet the exact requirements, although we love to use the term counterfeit. Because to the untrained eye, or just the novice, it could look like one, right? But hell, any guitar could look like another guitar to the untrained eye. Some people don't know the difference between a Les Paul and a Stratocaster. They just see guitar. Okay. So I'm digressing. Anyhow, counterfeit implies deception. So like I said, you can't, if you have a counterfeit, an exact copy, it implies deception. You must have made that for a reason, although another gray area is you would have to prove that in a court of law. Maybe you made a counterfeit for you, which is totally legal. There's nothing anybody could do about it. Now, if you go to distribution, it's a whole different ballpark, a whole different, you're breaking all kinds of UCC laws then. Uniform Commercial Code. You're breaking all kinds of regulatory laws. And some of them aren't really laws, like I said. Some are pseudo-law, policy, that can be enforced by particular judges, especially when they're paid off. So keep that in mind. So we're dealing with nothing but facts today. So, A fake, what's the difference between a fake and a counterfeit then? Well, fake simply means it's not real. It's not a real one. It may say Fender on the headstock, may say Gibson on the headstock, but it's not. That's a fake. That's a broad term. It's a generalization. In other words, we have all kinds of Stratocaster style guitars. We have all kinds of LP style guitars. Every one of those is a fake. They meet the term fake under definition because they have a similar style, but they're not real to its original design. Makes sense now? Is it coming together? Look, it should. So every single copy or likeness, and somebody says, I got an LP copy, that's exactly what you got. You got a fake. It's a fake. Regardless of what's on the headstock, it's still a fake. It's a real guitar, but it's a fake of the original design. Okay. So, how do they get away with it? Well, people have been asking that question forever. You know, China's so bad. Look at the counterfeits that come over. Well, there's the problem. They're not counterfeits coming over. They are not exact. They don't meet the legal definition of exact. And really, they're not intending to defraud anybody because their listings don't state, unless they do state it, but most of them, their listings don't state that, oh, this is a Fender or this is a Gibson. They don't say that, right? Mike, you're confusing me. What are you talking about? Well, guys, these guitars have been being shipped over for years, as far back as I can remember. Okay? And you'll hear horror stories, or you get the people that go on YouTube and your la-ti-da, wine-sipping, guitar playing, mostly guitar hanging on the wall people, but with too much bloody money who say, oh, counterfeits, they're ruining the values of my guitars. Well, they're not counterfeits, first of all. And no counterfeit, if you want to call it one, which it's not, it's a fake, is ruining the value of your guitar. If anything, it would raise the value of your guitar. Ooh, what do you mean? Well, because people blatantly know that guitars like this are not authentic. Because you don't look at a $3,000-$4,000 guitar and not know what you're looking at. Well, if you know your gems, you'll know this is not a real gem right off the bat. I don't have to explain it to you. You see all these videos. How do you tell a Gibson Les Paul from a counterfeit or a knockoff? Well, you just simply look at it. For one, there's all kinds of telltale differences. If you're a guitar player or a guitar builder or anything like that, or have anything to do with guitars, nobody's going to attempt to defraud you unless you're a person over here who got a fake and tries to sell it as real. And people who do that can say, well, I didn't know. All they want. They know. Because somebody's told them, just like anybody would tell them. It's that simple. Nobody went to AliExpress and says, I'm going to go buy. Have you ever did this? Did you ever wake up one morning and said, go to AliExpress or DHgate and I'm going to buy a real Gibson? Or I'm going to go to AliExpress or DHgate and I'm going to buy a real Fender today. Did you see the prices? They're super cheap. I wonder why they don't advertise it for a Fender. Why are their descriptions so vague? Oh, that's odd. How come it doesn't have the correct bridge pins? Oh, that's odd. That font's a little different. Oh, that's odd. Look at the shape on the back. That's a little bit different. How come they're not using the same materials? What is going on here? That's how they get away with it. Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. 20% rule. That's how they get away with it. They have changed these guitars enough so they don't qualify as, you ready? Counterfeits. That's how they get away with it. It's not getting away. Do you think these places wouldn't have been shut down in all the years they've been making and manufacturing these guitars? Wouldn't they be shut down? And hell, would Gibson shut themselves down with Epiphone? 2 different names. Would they have to stop making every guitar that... You see what I'm saying? No. It's a facade. It's smoke and mirrors. It's people regurgitating things over and over and over and over and over and over and over. It's almost a brainwashing technique. It's exactly what it is. You hear it, you hear it, you hear it, therefore it's fact. and then you say it, you repeat it to the next person, and they say it, and the next thing you know, it's a religion. No. Like I said, replica is an exact, look up the definition of exact. We're dealing in reality. Exact replica of a real one, of anything, be it money, be it anything, with the intent to defraud. Now, to put it in a little bit better perspective, if you counterfeit money, you probably didn't do it for your own personal use to keep in your house. You did it with the intent to defraud, and that's where the implies. But implies doesn't mean set in stone. Implies means, well, we could look at it this way and take you to court over it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now, how about this? How about a name? Well, they're using a Gibson name. They're using the Fender name. Guess what, folks? Bob, Joe, Sally, Karen, Darren. Your name, no one's name, can be copyrighted. That is right. Did you know that? You cannot copyright a name. Names are not copyrightable. However, the font of that name, okay, can be trademarked. The name can be trademarked in the design that you put it in. That's where it lies. So guess what? For all of those of you who said that Gibson logo on that headstock doesn't match the real one on that counterfeit guitar, guess what? You just talked circles. First off, it's not a counterfeit guitar. Why? It's not exact. It's not an exact replica. It doesn't have the same electronics. It doesn't have the same pickups. It doesn't have the same tuners. It doesn't have the same wood. There's no, really, you're looking at the shape and you took a generalization and then they threw a logo on it of a name that you cannot copyright. Changed the logo so it's not a Gibson logo and you're still bitching it's a counterfeit, when in reality, it's totally not by every single legal definition out there. Now, I hope some of you are laughing right now. I know some of you are pissed. You were taught wrong. Not by legal definition. The name has been changed. It's called the 20% rule. And generally, 20 to 25%, something has to be changed to be considered not infringing on something else. Now, this is where Gibson likes to get happy with other companies. Now, personally, I smell a lot of smoke and mirrors with that whole debacle between everything anyhow with all these other companies. And personally, my opinion is, and my thought, my theory, my conspiracy theory, my guitar conspiracy theory is, well, it's designed to sell guitars. What happens when somebody says that they can't make something anymore? Everybody goes out and buys what they can't make. Do you think Gibson has their hand in more companies than you know about? Well, some of that's protected under UCC Code 2, secrecy laws or pseudo law. So, can you sell a counterfeit guitar? Well, if it's an exact copy, no. Because you're you're distributing it. You're distributing it to somebody. You can't do that. That's distribution. It's kind of like firearms. You can make homemade ones, but you can't distribute it. Hope that makes sense. Same thing, but we're talking guitars, and you'd think they'd be stricter with the other side, with the pew-pews. Okay, I don't say that because they like to demonetize. Okay. Anyhow, can you sell a fake? 100% you can sell a fake. Fake, there's nothing illegal about fakes. Nothing. I'm going to say it again. There is nothing illegal about fakes. Fakes and counterfeits can be two different things. A counterfeit is a fake, but a fake doesn't have to be a counterfeit, is what I meant to say. Okay? Now, yes, you can sell it. Because it's not a counterfeit. So if you buy a guitar like this. And you know where this one was purchased from, folks? eBay. $250. Ibanez Gem copy. But not even a good one. No, because they got to meet the 20% rule. So what do they do? What do they do on these guitars? But to the untrained eye, well, it's not my fault your eye is untrained. If your eye's untrained to what you're buying, you shouldn't be buying it. Okay. This is the best playing guitar I had. I've done a lot of work to this. So this is an Ibanez Gem copy, floral pattern too. But right away, if you know your gems, you'll know that the floral pattern is totally foobarred. It is not correct. This white ain't supposed to be white. This is supposed to be a goldenish tan. That's right. Fretboard looks pretty authentic, though. If anything, the neck looks fantastic, but I assure you there's little differences. There's little differences and big differences. A big one here is the back. It doesn't have the cutout back here. Just doesn't have it. When we look at the logo, there's differences. First off, it does no registered trademark line. Things have been changed. Now, but Mike, it looks pretty close to me. Yes, but when you add all this stuff in together, you've met that 20% rule. Does that make sense? You've changed it so much now that is obviously identifiable as a copy or a fake and not a counterfeit. Can't be a counterfeit. It's changed too much. It comes with a different bridge. It comes with horrible pickups. It comes with horrible wiring. The finish isn't as nice. Although this one has a decent finish. It's not fantastic. It's not Ibanez finish. It has a great neck on it. Is it an Ibanez neck? Style neck? Yes, but the wood's cut differently. It's not the quality. It looks different. There's a little bit different shape. It comes with a different locking nut. Different truss rod cover. Hell, a whole different truss rod. It is not, in so many ways, in so many ways, it is not a counterfeit. And that's blatant. Can I sell this guitar? 100% I can. Now, well, what if you sell it as real and you try to trick somebody? Well, that's intent to defraud, but it still doesn't make it a counterfeit. That's on me. That's my liability. Well, they use the Ibanez name. Well, we just covered that. You cannot trademark your name. You can't do it. You can't copyright it. You only can copyright the font. And if you change the font, it's not the same. So, this is the stuff that just upsets me. And it gets to me. Because there's so many fucking bloody people out there that don't know what the word counterfeit means, and they use it. And I like to say it, like I say it. You know, it'll get you views. Counterfeit. Maybe I'll put it in the thumbnail. Counterfeit guitar. It's not a counterfeit. Not a counterfeit until you make it. You want to know the closest guitar ever to being a counterfeit that I can remember was Slash's guitar that a luthier made. That's right. That was an outright counterfeit. Keep that stuff in mind. Now listen, if you like guitars, rock and roll, man, this is the channel for you. Budget, dealing in reality. What's real is real. What's not is not. We say things the way they are, no matter whose feelings that we hurt. Because we're not Karens or Darrens here. We deal in the truth. Thanks for watching Fulton Street Beats, guys. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, and remember, it's rock and roll that makes the world go round. Peace.